Yep. Not just the MCU, guys. Look at this. There's so much crap here. Ugh. And I do mean crap, because let's face it, you know. I mean, DC, I always talk about this. As a kid, I preferred DC Comics to Marvel Comics. And in movie terms, I mean, it was pretty much the same way for a while. I was never that big on Tobey Maguire or those films. I was never that big on, like, the first 3 X-Men films when I was young. Getting older, I kind of look back on them and think they're nice, but yeah, they quickly started feeling outdated, those first 3, you know? And I mean, nothing else here really made that huge an impact on me. Blade's pretty sweet, but yeah, so I'd say up until the MCU, I preferred just DC in general. MCU's fucking great though, you know? That's the truth. That's just how it is. What are you going to do about it? Well, this should be fun, not gonna lie. Looks like it's gonna be even more controversial than your DC tier list ranking could be. Not gonna lie, I actually think Tobey Maguire's the best Spider-Man because I grew up with these movies. I grew up with them too. I was 5 when the first one came out. But I don't know, a lot of people around me were all like, oh my god, Spider-Man! And I was always like, well, oh, okay. And now I'm like, oh, Spider-Man. I'm really into Tom Holland, and I'm into the comics more now than I used to be. But I never got hugely into Tom Holland. This is the best Spidey. Well, it'll get divisive in there, I'm sure about that. But yeah, I don't know. Well, let's start the way we normally do. Let's try and get something on each tier so we kind of know where we're at, huh? Well, we could. Well, we could do it a different way. We could try and go chronologically. What's first? Oh, yeah, I know what's first. It's Howard the Duck. The closest thing you'll ever get to a duck version of the Bee movie. It's terrifying that this exists, and it's worse that it was the first proper theatrically released Marvel Comics movie. Yeah. I mean, there is a Captain America serial film from 1944. I don't think it really counts. I didn't put it in. Well, I didn't actually make this list, but I didn't go to make a list to put it in because it felt unnecessary, you know? I've got the 1990 Captain America, which was limited theatrical release, and I've got the same with the 1989 Punisher, which was a limited theatrical release. Neither are good, spoilers, but Howard the Duck, it outstrips most stuff in terms of how deviously awful it manages to be, really. Hey, where's our E tier? Jeez. What a mess. Yeah. Yeah, I think Howard the Duck's probably just gotta go F. Like, I know some people think it's like, it's so memey that it's fun, but it's just freaking weird, man. It's just really, really weird. Can't stress that enough. I really hate it quite a lot. I mean, Leah Thompson in it wanted to fuck a duck. You know, it is literally, it's what you really hope it isn't. It's like B-movie, but it's a duck. And that's awful. That's awful to experience. So we've got our F. I mean, if we're going chronologically, we'll get some more of them pretty soon. Endgame S. That's pretty easy. Yeah, that's a pretty easy decision. What is next? I suppose it'd be the 1989 Punisher. 1989 Punisher, you know. I mean, I'm still going to say it's better than Howard the Duck. It's not much better than Howard the Duck. We're probably talking that comfortably. These TV films, they were essentially, well, I'm not sure if they all were, but certainly some of them were meant to kick off TV shows. They were pilots, essentially, in the form of TV films. And these two, the Punisher and the Captain America ones, I know for sure did get limited theatrical release. They shouldn't have, really. The Captain America one as well. It's just weird. It was just weird. It was more of like a Batman film almost, that one, right? As far as I can recall, it was like more of a detective-y kind of thing. Or maybe I'm thinking of the 1944 one. Oh, I don't know, man. Neither of them are good, though. I mean, yeah, no, I think so. Great. What was after that? Because that was 1990. After that, actually, you know what? I didn't make this list, so it's not maybe quite done the way I would have done it, but they've added in the 1944 unreleased, was never released in any form, Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. Yeah. See, Fox got the rights and then they just had to make a movie so that they didn't lose the rights. It's basically why they made the 2015 version as well. Their only real attempt at making one was the 2005 one. 2015 could have worked, I still think, you know, if they'd just not, but but if you want, and I cannot recommend doing this, but if you want, you can see this 1994 unreleasable version of Fantastic Four on YouTube. That's where I found it. Just on YouTube. And it's exactly what you think it is in a lot of ways. Doctor Doom's there, the Fantastic Four are there, they get their powers, they face off against him. In some ways, it's actually more comic accurate than some of the later films, but it is garbage, and it looks like... It looks worse than a fan-made film. I was going to say it looks like a fan-made film. It doesn't. It looks like the opposite of that. It looks like someone who really, really hates that. I'm gonna put an F pretty cleanly. Yeah, this is a bad start. We shouldn't keep going chronologically. This is going to end badly. After that, I think you are up to Blade. 1998. I don't think there's anything else here before then. Look, Blade's good. I like Wesley Snipes. Blade is good. He's a vampire hunter. He hunts vampires. He's also like part vampire. It's only half. He's half vampire. He's a freaking badass, and he's so 90s. Oh my gosh, like 90s / early noughties action films. This is like an epitome of those. It is crazy. It doesn't feel much like a superhero film, really. It does feel more like just your generic sort of action film, and also there's vampires. Which I guess in the 90s was enough to be like, oh, it's very comic booky, isn't it? So, I think overall, looking back on it today, it's still a decent enough watch. It's kind of weird watching back any 90s or early noughties action movie today, but it's got a lot of nice things about it. I think Wesley Snipes is very good for the role. I'll probably go C. I think a B would be kind, but just, you know, considering what we've got to come, we've got a lot of A's and B's. Yeah, so I got to fill up the latter parts of the list while I can, and I don't think it's a stonking. It's not really great, especially to watch back today. Blade B. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Really, it is a good time still, but you know. And then if you look at the other ones, where's Blade 2? There's Blade 2. Blade 2 is worse, but not criminally so. It feels like a good D since we don't have one. Yeah. I wouldn't even say... I think E is harsh for Blade Trinity, but... Might put it there, though. I didn't like any Blades. Oh, no, I enjoyed Blade. And Blade 2 was watchable. Blade Trinity was... It also exists. I'm gonna... Yeah, it does feel harsh, but... I feel like they all need to be on separate tiers, and I don't really want to put the first Blade on a B. So... I think I'll stick with that. X-Men. Ooh, okay, right. I think, again, the original X-Men, 2000, you had Wolverine, a big fixture in it, you had Magneto and Professor X were in there, and you had Jean Grey, and you had Storm, and you had Rogue, and Cyclops, and God, Cyclops, what a cuck. And all of that going on. And watching it back today again, it feels fine. It feels like a good enough watch still. Yeah, I feel like it wasn't really until the MCU that any of these films gained the level of, like, comedy or lightheartedness that, you know, makes Marvel movies a Marvel movie. But I'd still say to watch it back today, I'd be okay putting it there. Watching them both back today, I'd actually put X2 higher. That's why I might not want to put that on B, because I might want to put X2 on B. I feel like they'd established it by then. It felt and looked more like a comic book movie. It wasn't quite so simple and origin-y, which was nice. Without the shackles of that, without having to do quite so much world building, I feel like it helped. And it had the really cool ending, you know, Jean's big sacrifice and stuff, which would later be kind of messed up. But I do feel like maybe, yeah, that could go on a B. I do like that one. Even watching back today, it's the same as Spider-Man 2, which we'll talk about shortly. I should talk about X-Men The Last Stand. I don't want to talk about X-Men The Last Stand, but I should talk about X-Men The Last Stand. Look, it's No, boo. Oh, well, okay. The Last Stand, look, it's bad. I wouldn't say it's as bad as Origins Wolverine. And I wouldn't say Origins Wolverine is honestly an F either if you compare them to this. Hardly anything else is an F on this whole list. But I think Last Stand, it had so much potential, man. Like, that is a pretty familiar way to kill off Jean Grey and then bring her back as the Phoenix. So they did that right with X2. Bringing her back. I mean, we never liked Cyclops, and then they just killed him, and then they killed Professor X, and it just started feeling like, what is happening here? All of the characters, like, the important comic book characters just killed off most of them. Weird decision-making, and then it was bad. I mean, it was bad, yeah. And that was a shame. I don't think it's, like, the worst thing out there. I would almost, I feel like I almost have to give it a D, because, yeah, that's rough. That's rough. I mean, it's not good. It's not good. Doesn't feel like it really deserves to be only one tier below X-Men, but I think we almost need more tiers, you know? Maybe we do need another tier. You know what? I'll just do that. Give it. Oh. That's wrong. See, here's what we need. We just need this to be like... X. The X tier. And we put those down there, and then we can put these down here without Blade Trinity, and then we can put Origins Wolverine, where'd it go? There it is, on this one, okay? That feels better. That feels more like it. Elektra F. Elektra, it's not good either. Oh, God, I hate going through all of this. There's nothing on A or S, but, I mean, these early films, there's just not a lot to hugely celebrate, is there? Wait, we'll duck out of X-Men so that we can go talk about Daredevil. Man, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner as Daredevil and Elektra. Should have been good. Again, should have been really good. A lot of these things should have been good, man. Didn't have the comedy. Kingpin existed. So did Bullseye. Oh. I mean, again, this is why we need so many tiers near the bottom, because, like, none of these are as bad as those, okay? Elektra probably is as bad as that. Yeah. Daredevil is probably more like that level. I do think Daredevil is worse than you would actually think, and you think it's pretty bad. Like, I went and watched it again, maybe last year, yeah, with low expectations, really low expectations, and I was still disappointed. So that's not good. I don't think it's a huge amount worse than Wolverine, though. Origins Wolverine was bad, man. Ugh. Ghost Rider. Ooh. Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider. This is just a who's who of what fuckery they could do with these characters, huh? I mean, look. The first Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider film is fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Watching it back today, after seeing, like, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they got Gabriel Luna, right? And he did, like, a really good Ghost Rider. That was a sick Ghost Rider, and I wanted to see them do a proper TV show, but it would have been too expensive to do as a TV show, apparently. But Nicolas Cage, first Ghost Rider movie, it is still fine to watch back. Eva Mendes is there. He's all fiery. There's good scenes in it. There's a lot of good moments to it. It's fine. Is it a C? I mean, maybe? Feels a little kind. But D does feel a little bit harsh. Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is just really shit. It's just really shit. I really did not get on board with that one at all. I hated Ghost Rider because of those movies. Yeah, I mean, no, there is so much to that character that could be so cool and could work so well in the MCU. Darker version of it, but, like, they're kind of entering that side now. They've got Oscar Isaac. They're going to do a Moon Knight show. And if you brought back, like, Daredevil, Charlie Cox, that was always more of, like, an R-rated kind of thing. Any of those Netflix characters were. So you could have Punisher as well, and then you could have Ghost Rider. Like, you're building a darker side of the universe, and it's kind of... it'd be really sick to see, frankly. But yeah, no. Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance was real bad. It's probably an E. It's probably not an F. God, it hurts to not be able to say that's an F. In this situation, especially when F's still not the lowest tier. But I mean, we're talking like like 10 to 20 out of 100. And then we're talking kind of 20 to 30 out of 100. And then like, I don't know, 30 to 50 probably. And then this is like 50 to 60. This is like 60 to 70-ish. And then this is like 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 100, you know? That's kind of what I've got in my head, vaguely. Not exactly, but pretty much. So I don't like, there's not much else really that's going to get that bad a score, is there? I mean, there are more Punisher films. Oh, Hulk's here. Oh, no. Well, okay. Fantastic Four 2005, okay? Obviously, it's not as bad as this. Don't try and say it. Nothing is as bad as this. Except for the Duck. Those are real bad. I mean, Fantastic Four 2005, it was okay. There's problems. There's problems with every version of Fantastic Four they've tried to do, you know? None of those films are good. I actually felt like Silver Surfer was better. It was kind of shorter. It was to the point. You had the wedding going on. You had not another version of the Fantastic Four origin. I know this was the first theatrical release of one, but God, it feels like something you've heard so many times, like the Batman origin. You don't actually want to see it. So the Silver Surfer, obviously Galactus was just a freaking cloud. I still don't think it was a good movie, but I think it was better. I like the first Fantastic Four. I don't know. Honestly, it's probably not that big a difference. The second one had Cloud Galactus. It had a good Silver Surfer. Interesting character. It had Doctor Doom, and he was on the board. And then it had Johnny, like, absorbing, like, everyone's powers. Ugh. Yeah. But the first one was an annoying origin story. So, frankly, I'm just going to put them both on D. I feel like they even out. I feel pretty similarly about the two. Not a huge amount of difference, really. Hulk. 2003 Hulk. Which, by the way, I've always thought should almost count as canon into the MCU. It's not because it's good, but you know the way at the start of the Incredible Hulk it has like these this kind of flashing version of the origin so that it doesn't have to tell it again? That's because that was the story of Hulk. Realistically, practically, despite having a different cast again, Hulk is it's a prequel to the Incredible Hulk. You know, the Incredible Hulk is a sequel, pretty much. Not exactly, maybe, but it's close enough that you could have gotten away with that. I think, with saying that. They didn't, for obvious reasons, because it's bad. It is bad. He looks just ridiculous. He looks like one of the monsters from Space Jam or something. It's not good. It's not good. Eric Bana as Bruce Banner, meh. And Jennifer Connelly, better than Liv Tyler, right? But still not good. It's probably another, like, E. Yeah, that's a lot of those. E is our... There's, like, a normal distribution here. But what about S and A? Jesus, man. Punisher. You know, it's another case of they did two. Neither was really great. They kind of watching them back today. I prefer Eric Bana to Edward Norton. No, really? Oh, I don't think I do, but... I mean, looking back, I don't think either of them is, like, brilliant. Like, I am happy that it's Mark Ruffalo over either of them. Like, I'm happy that it's Tom Holland over either of the other Spider-Mans, honestly. Punisher, I don't know. I'm almost tempted to just... I don't know. I mean, I don't like them. I don't love either film. Maybe that one there, that one there. I don't know. I'm not getting them mixed up, am I? It's really easy to get them mixed up. Look at the palette of colors in a lot of these posters. It just shows you what superhero films were like in the early 2000s. I think I've got it right. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think I do. Yeah, no. I do prefer the first Punisher. Well, it's not the first Punisher. That's the first Punisher, technically, but I do prefer that one to that one. Probably by enough to go D&E. Neither is good. No, not really. No, right, Spider-Man. We've got most things done now apart from the MCU, but Spider-Man. I agree with people when they say that Spider-Man 2 is better than Spider-Man 1. I do think that, yeah. Similar to X-Men and X-Men 2. I think once there was too much origin stuff that you just knew. You just know and you're like, oh, it's dreary origin stuff to go through, really, isn't it? I have no problems generally with the first Spider-Man film. But I don't know. I don't like Tobey Maguire, man. I don't like him. You should do a Punisher ranking. A Punisher ranking. I could do, yeah. There has been 3, and then there's 2 seasons of the TV show I could maybe throw in as well. They were good. I enjoyed that. I think John Bernthal, best Punisher. I think when the MCU casts people, they get it correct. There's very few that I would complain about, really. I'm trying to figure out where this goes. It might be a case of... I don't know if Spider-Man 2... Doc Ock was good. Alfred Molina was Doc Ock. I'm excited to see him come back. It's weird how many of these are canon to the MCU in some way, once you open up the multiverse, huh? Probably all of them, pretty much. We could get references to any of them. Huh, that's weird. Spider-Man 3, then. Yeah, I think I'm okay with doing that. I do think Spider-Man 2 is better. You threw off the origin stuff. Doc Ock was... I mean, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin had some amazing stuff about him. But as a film, I think the first Spider-Man's just not as good. It also had Randy Savage, which was sick. But, yeah. No, you know what? Maybe just do that. This is going to get slammed. Damn. Spider-Man 3 was obviously bad. How bad? Meh. It's definitely not worse than that. That's a little bit harsh. But I feel like D is a little bit kind. God, that feels all over the place. It's hard. It's difficult. Even with that many tiers to really separate them out enough. Other X-Men films, I suppose. We might want to do those before we go MCU. We did Origins Wolverine? Yeah, we did. First Class. Look, First Class is pretty good. I enjoyed X-Men First Class. I enjoyed those young versions of the characters. I mean, don't get me wrong. The original castings for those were all great. Hugh Jackman and Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. These are all fantastic castings. Halle Berry as Storm. They never really used her enough, but could have been good. James Marsden as Cyclops, if they hadn't just made his character be that he's a cuck, could have been really good as well. The First Class castings, though, I really liked a lot of them as well. I really liked Jennifer Lawrence. I liked more Mystique stuff. I thought that was really good. I liked James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender a lot. I thought a lot about that film was really good. I didn't like it as much as Days of Future Past. I think Days of Future Past is my favourite X-Men film. Well, X-Men film. Team up. Obviously, Logan is separate to that. But I think X-Men First Class, I'm happy to go B as well. Kind of alongside that. And then we could have our first A. God, we haven't touched the MCU. There's just no A's. I think Days of Future Past, though, that was great. I was so hyped for that. The fucking trailer for that is still one of my favourite trailers ever. That was so good. Do you remember that? I was so hyped for that. And that was in a year when Captain America Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy came out. I was hyped for this, you know? And an X-Men ranking? True. I could literally just do they call them Marvel Legacy films now. Anything that like Fox made or the original Spider-Man films, and they have most of them now, I think, on Disney+. And it would be interesting to go back and do all of them. Because there's other ones here that technically Fox made and stuff, like, they're not here. Like Generation X was meant to be like a TV pilot that was a TV movie and then just didn't work out and things like that. But yeah, no, I think Days of Future Past, it was the best coming together. You had all of the characters doing great stuff. It was super confusing again on timeline. You gotta just kind of take it as it is. Just ignore everything else that ever happened, because it's a mess. That trailer was insane. It was so good, right? I remember the Days of Future Past trailer was so good. And I think it lived up to it. I still think watching this one back, it's such a great film. I really like watching it back. Apocalypse! Yeah. It's weird, because Apocalypse is then when they started really trying to properly do this young X-Men. They'd had the kind of precursors, having Charles and Magneto and all some of these other ones, but then this one they introduced all of the big younger characters, and God, it's where you really started questioning the timeline, huh? A lot. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, it was First Class was in, like, the 60s, because it was Cuban Missile Crisis. Then Days of Future Past was meant to be the 70s. Then Apocalypse was, like, the 80s. And then Dark Phoenix was the 90s. But, like, the kids that were there in the 80s, they didn't grow up. For the 90s, it's a mess. Apocalypse, yeah, I mean, Oscar Isaac could have done a really good Apocalypse. He did not. They did not let him. He looked ridiculous. Felt ridiculous. Acted ridiculous. Real bad time. I hated a lot of characters in this, actually. I thought Olivia Munn Psylocke was okay. Could have been a lot better. Should have been a lot better. A lot of other characters that were good in the first couple of films, in that part of the series, not as good in this one. And then you had characters they introduced like Storm, Angel, just shit. I think it's probably a D. I don't think it's that bad. I think they were, because the MCU had started, they were treating these films with more reverence, putting more budget into them. And they'd still have a great cast in a lot of ways. It's not that good though. It's kind of bad. And Dark Phoenix was kind of the last in that series. Thank God. It needed to stop. Apocalypse, it messed it all up. Dark Phoenix wanted to fix it, wanted to do the Phoenix Saga right after X-Men Last Stand. Infamously, that series went on too long and messed it up. And it didn't work. Still didn't work. To be fair, that's pretty much the only time anyone ever had yellow in their costumes in these films, which is nice. They made some interesting decisions, Mystique and stuff like that. Her death early on. Not good though. Not good. Is it better than Apocalypse? No. Is it much worse? Probably not really. I feel like there was a bottom limit that these could reach. They were never going to get quite as bad as like Origins Wolverine again, and I don't think this one is either. I don't think it worked well, but I don't think it's that bad. Oh, give me 1 second. But yeah, generally, I liked these ones. I liked a lot about these films. Those 4, it ended up being. I just thought that once they introduced the other characters, it started messing up. They were these young kids, and it should have worked well, but it should have changed tone a little bit more or something. I don't know. It felt like there was a disconnect for those characters. Like Sophie Turner was good casting, Ty Sheridan. Cody Schmidt-McPhee, there were Alexandra Shipp. There were a lot of good castings in there. It's a shame. It felt a real shame to me that it went down like that. Amazing Spider-Man. You know what? I like Amazing Spider-Man. The first Amazing Spider-Man, I liked it. I still like it. I like Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone together. I just love Emma Stone. I thought she was great as Gwen Stacy. I thought that it was a good decision to use Lizard instead of a character, a villain they'd already seen. And they've been good at that, because Spider-Man is one of the few Marvel superheroes who has a really deep roster of villains. DC have a few guys that have that many villains to use. Spider-Man is one of the only MCU, Marvel properties that has that. And they had, in the first, in the Tobey Maguire ones, they used Green Goblin and Doc Ock and Sandman, and then they didn't need any of those for these films. They were like, no, we'll just move on. We'll just go on. And I liked Andrew Garfield and the style of it. The first time. the first film. Yeah, and I liked the Lizard well enough. I thought that was good casting for him. And yeah, I really liked Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben. I love Martin Sheen, so I really liked him as Uncle Ben. Overall, I would... And I almost want another tier, because I don't think it's as good as both of these Tobey Maguire ones. I don't think it's... But it's very close for me, so I'm actually going to put it on the same tier, but I feel like there's a bit of a difference there. Not much of one? Maybe not much of one. For me personally, I don't know. I feel like I was at the right age that I was actually getting into comic book movies by 2012. I was into them by then. The MCU had started. And I wanted to see this, and I was hyped, and I was all into Spider-Man, and I was reading comics of Spider-Man for the first time, probably about a year or two before this came out. So as much as maybe I should have, because I grew up with the Tobey Maguire ones, preferred it, I think Andrew Garfield just hit me at the right time, and I really liked that. Then the second one came out. And in similar vein, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably not quite as bad as the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3. I think it's probably better than that. But my God, they messed up Jamie Foxx Electro. That was bad. They messed up Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone as characters, and they killed her off in a stupid way. It sucked. The whole thing was just really bad, and it was so focused on their relationships. It felt so long. That film felt like it lasted forever. I don't know if it was actually that long, but it felt like it lasted forever. We got a couple more still kind of outside of the MCU. May as well just finish them all off. Right. I do want to talk about this, okay? Now, I saw the 2015 Josh Trank Fantastic Four film twice. I saw it in cinemas in 2015 when it first came out, and everyone was talking about how this is the worst thing they've ever seen, okay? Everyone was slamming it so viciously. And this wasn't just critics or just fans. Everyone came together to slam the shit out of it. And I thought, well, I may as well go see it anyway, so I can, like... I was writing movie reviews on the internet at the time. I wasn't on YouTube yet, but I was writing movie reviews. So I was like, I'm going to go see it so that I can join in, maybe get some views from slamming it. And I didn't want to after I saw it. Because I thought, oh, I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't like that good. But I might prefer it to those trashy films from 2005. Big Hero 6 underrated, eh? Oh. I just looked at it and I thought, okay, there was like stuff they did in there that I liked. I liked the characters well enough. I liked the casting well enough generally. And I thought it was harsh for people to slam that the way they did. Then I saw it again. I saw it again a couple years later thinking, oh yeah, no, this one's fine. And I liked it less. I still didn't hate it, but I liked it less. Without the really, really low expectations going in, it lost something, yeah. The style of Doctor Doom in that was crazy. The final battle, not good. Had all this epic skybeam shit going on, well, not good. I think it kind of is practically still on the level of these, if slightly below. It's not a tier below. It's not as bad as any of these ones, I don't think. I would have been fine them trying to continue with that, because I think that getting the origin shit out of the way, because there's no good or fun or unique way to do the Fantastic Four origin, right? I think getting all that out of the way, they could have made a decent second film. Obviously, it was Fox and stuff, and they did, as far as we've heard, fuck with Josh Trank a lot during that. So, who was Sue in 2015? Kate Mara, who I've always liked well enough, and I thought that was going to be her big thing, you know? You had her, you had Miles Teller, who I'm okay with. I was more okay with him in that role than I am with him in some other roles. I love Michael B. Jordan. Everyone loves Michael B. Jordan. We saw what he could do in Black Panther with comic book roles. Jimmy Bell was a bit of a weird choice for me for The Thing, but I thought it worked as well. I thought it all worked. It could have worked. It didn't really. But I don't think it's as bad as some people say still. Big Hero 6 is a Disney-made Marvel film, but not in the MCU. It's the only one, right? There are only 2 theatrically released Marvel movies, right, that are animated? Yeah, this and Spider-Verse. Though, more Spider-Verse coming. Big Hero 6... I think it's a kind A. I do like it, but for me it's always been that film from that Disney run, because they made it in a row. Disney Animated Studios made Tangled, and Frozen, and Wreck-It Ralph, and then this, and then Moana and Zootopia, and this is my least favourite of any of those, I think. It is good. It is good. I think it's a top tier B, not quite a bottom tier A. It is close. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Venom is one that's easy to forget about. They've got a sequel about to come out. And, you know what? Sony's doing with that what they coulda, shoulda, woulda done with Spider-Man in a different world. You know, actually building a universe using the characters that fans want to see so badly. I thought Venom as a film, like, I've never really, really loved Tom Hardy, but I liked the way they had him in this. I think, you know, they have him in roles that he works in. Mad Max, the quiet kind of leading character there, he worked in that role. Anyway, Venom, he worked well as this character, and he had his funny moments, and he looked like a fucking mess the whole film, which I liked, because he should. If he was like getting insanely ripped as soon as he got the symbiote and things like that, and like, it could have so easily turned into Spider-Man 3, you know? And they purposefully strayed away from that. He looked a mess, sweaty in the hoodie the whole film. I liked that about it. I didn't like it as much as some people did, but I think it's a B for me. I'm hoping that with Carnage, Woody Harrelson's Carnage, oh my goodness, I think it could go a tier up, the sequel. This one, it did a lot right. It did a lot right. It still doesn't feel like super top tier stuff. I mean, outside of the MCU, there isn't much that I really do think is like top tier stuff, honestly. I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree, but that's just the way I feel about it. I think Days of Future Past nailed so much stuff, despite being in the middle of a really messy timeline series. Nothing else has really quite hit that level for me. Oh, the Wolverine. I feel like the Wolverine gets forgotten about because it's forgettable. You know, I think I overrated it when I saw it in cinema in 2013 because it wasn't Origins Wolverine. Because it was a solo film that wasn't that. I was like, hell yeah, they got a Wolverine film that I can watch back and not hate. How good is it actually to watch back after that? It's fine. yeah. It's probably not a C. I would love it to be a C. I don't think it's quite a C. Just because it is weird, it is messy, the ending fight is crappy. I liked the characters that they introduced. I liked both of the girls. I thought Hugh Jackman got to do his stuff. You know, he's always good in that role. Almost no matter what. Even Origins Wolverine, he wasn't bad in the role, you know? They tried to make him. They succeeded with, like, Ryan Reynolds being bad in This Is Deadpool, but they couldn't make him bad in that role. It is another one that you kind of think, oh, it's fine. And then you watch back and you go, ah, okay. New Mutants. The last Fox Marvel film. Yep. Well, no, yeah, right, yeah. I assume that once they... Because, I mean, they still put 20th Century Fox on the banners and stuff for different releases, but I'm assuming they won't when they start making the X-Men for the MCU. I assume they won't, like, put Marvel Studios and 20th Century Fox or anything like that. This is another case of it, okay? This is the same thing as... What did I say it for? Oh, the 2015 Fantastic Four. The same thing happened. And it was worse for the New Mutants, okay? It was the last film in this franchise. You knew it was irrelevant. You knew any talk of any sequels doing a trilogy of New Mutants films was irrelevant. You knew that it had been delayed and there was reshoots going on and that they kept delaying releasing it because they were so desperate not to release it for like 3-4 years. When it came out, people bashed the shit out of it. People were just excited to be able to bash the shit out of it and say there's no redeemable qualities here, it's just god-awful. And I went into the cinema and I thought, really? It's not that bad, right? It's fine. I liked some of the characters well enough. I like the cast, because I really love Anya Taylor-Joy. I like Maisie Williams. I liked the main girl, who I hadn't seen anything else before that. And I liked your man from Stranger Things. I never remember his name. And it was kind of a angsty teenage superhero Breakfast Club bullshittery kind of thing, you know? It was like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest meets the Breakfast Club, and they were also mutants. And it's not that good, okay? There's literally 5 of them. It's literally, you know, everything about it is really trying to be Breakfast Club. And it succeeds. You know, and it's not a great version of Breakfast Club. I don't think it's that bad a version of it. It's another one that I haven't actually seen it since I saw it in cinemas. But I'm going to put it on D. I might bring it down a tier as well once I see it again outside of cinemas without the low expectations. I don't know for sure, but I thought it was okay. Not great, but okay. What else is left? Oh, Logan. Hell yeah. Let's put it up there. It's close. It's close, but I feel like you've got to give credit where credit is due. And again, when they didn't try any form of cohesivity, there was no cohesiveness to this relating to any of the previous films. Not even kinda. No, nothing there at all. But it was Hugh Jackman at his very best playing that role. It was maybe the best performance Hugh Jackman's put into any role ever in that film. It was amazing. It did so much that was so good. It didn't, again, Everyone thought, oh, it's going to follow Old Man Logan exactly, this old comic book story. And no, it didn't, and it couldn't, because that references too many other Marvel characters. I think Hawkeye's in that quite a bit. So you couldn't have done that exactly, but what they did with it was so good. Just him and Patrick Stewart, the two of the best castings Fox ever made, just doing their thing, and it was so goddamn good. I loved it. Spider-Verse. Oh, and Deadpool. Yep. Right, well, Spider-Verse... Look, I underrated this, actually. When I went and saw it in cinema for the first time, I underrated it. I thought, oh, I mean, it was fine, right? It was pretty good. But then... I saw it again. And I've seen it a couple times since the cinema, actually. And as soon as I started watching it again, I was going, oh, wait, no, this is better. And I thought, oh, wait, oh my god. And it's actually so good. It's so good. It being an animated form, being that madcap style of animation that like Mitchell vs. the Machines has as well. Similar make, because Sony did both, right? And it just that style allowed it to feel more like a comic book than any film ever has. It managed to feel so clean and like so full of so much great stuff. So many Easter eggs and cameos that they could use so well in later movies, which they are going to do, so they could build a really incredible Spider-Man Spider-Verse around the characters they've introduced in that, and it seems like they're going to, because they're introducing more characters in the sequel, so I'm hyped for that. I'm really excited to see where they go with that. It's interesting to me that the only theatrically released Marvel Comics-based animated movies ever have both won Best Picture, Best Animated Feature, at the Oscars. I don't know if Big Hero 6 necessarily deserved it. That was the year that How to Train Your Dragon 2 came out. I thought that could have won, but it doesn't matter. And then Deadpool. Deadpool's tricky, okay? Deadpool's tricky. Yeah, no, it's not that tricky, actually. You know what? It's not that tricky. That's the situation, okay? Because, once again, the smaller scale of the first Deadpool movie, focusing down on a few specific characters, having just so much fun with it, and doing it in an R-rated style that nobody had ever done. Nobody up to that point had done a funny comic book movie that was R-rated. So it gave it so much scope, and Ryan Reynolds was plotting this film for like 10 years or so, I don't know. And it came together so beautifully. It is a simplistic film. You know, it's not that long. It doesn't have that much to it. But it just worked really well because it was just so balls to the wall and seeing. Deadpool 2 expanded upon everything there. It had more characters, it had more laugh out loud ridiculous moments and sequences. It kind of dealt with some sequel issues at the same time. So I feel like they even out. I feel very similarly about them. In the same way that I'm kind of quite similar on Spider-Man 1 and 2, on the Fantastic Four 1 and 2 there. I don't feel like you can separate them by a whole tier. It's not fair. And I think that's it. Now it's just MCU, right? Yeah. Oh boy. So this is the issue, you know. We've filled up some of these lower tiers. Not anymore. Not really. I mean, you gotta be fair. No MCU under A except for Iron Man 3, Hulk, and Thor 2. Well, that is getting close to being correct, I think. I'm pretty much with you. Pretty much. There's probably a few more B's in there, right? There's certainly almost nothing in the MCU under B, right? These are good films. They're well-made films. They've got a style to them that you could say it's repetitive, but it means that there's never a real shitter of a film. Let's begin. Iron Man 1, classic. It stands up today as something really great. He's so snarky from the start. It's a lot of fun. I really love it. I still love watching it back. I think it's so good. Fantastic Four needs to go to at least E. Which Fantastic Four? There's 3 of them in D. And then there's that one from 1994, which is in this kind of X tier. We just try to ignore that those exist entirely. So I don't know which one you mean. Yeah, no, Iron Man. Iron Man 2 is a B. Slightly kind. Yeah, okay. It's still got him doing his thing. It introduces Black Widow. It does a good job, right, of a lot of things. It does a poor job of other things, Real bad villains, really bad villains. Oh my god, bad villains. But I don't feel like, yeah, no, I feel like that's pretty fair. Just about. It's a close one. It's a close one. Also Hulk, right? Incredible Hulk. Where's that? There it is. Oh, I miss the good old days of comic book movies where it doesn't set up a universe where it's its own damn thing. Well, that was nice in some ways, but for me, I always read comic books, and like comic books set up stuff. You know, like I'm not talking comic book movie. I mean comic books. When you read one, it sets up the next issue. It sets up the big crossover events that they're going to do between all the characters. It does collaboration issues. So I felt like when they started the MCU, I was kind of like, oh, are they going to be able to do this like they would do in comic books? And they do, you know? That's what always hooked me about it. The horrible remake Fantastic Four puke. Okay, but this one was made in 1994, so all three of these are remakes. You know what I mean? Plus, like as much as they messed up stuff in 2015, which I assume is what you're talking about, the 2005 ones aren't good either, you know? I feel like it's pretty fair to put just all three of those on the same tier, honestly. Incredible Hulk. You know? Might drop it to C. It's just... It's not quite in the style of the MCU entirely, is it? It's got some fun, and, you know, and Edward Norton was fine as Hulk. Liv Tyler was also there. Tim Roth as Abomination, that was a whole mess. General Ross was good, but overall, it kind of, I don't know, it might drop that level. It does feel harsh, but it was quite standalone apart from that post-credit scene, you know? In a way that didn't really work out too well. Hulk films, not sure if Hulk films will work out too well. Putting him in a film with Thor, putting him in a film with other people, would be fine. A Hulk film on his own, I don't know if that's going to work, you know? Didn't help that it was just another Hulk film a few years after we had the Eric Bana one that was just him running away a lot. Yeah. It's not even canon. Come on, put it in D. It is. Oh, what? Incredible Hulk? I think it is canon at this point. They've got Abomination coming back for Shang-Chi. General Ross already came back. I think just because they recast... Well, I mean, they only really recast Bruce, right? So I don't think there's any reason to think it's not canon. I have a soft spot in the two Tim Story Fantastic Four movies. No, I maybe used to a bit more, but I never loved them, and watching them back more recently, nah. Nah. Thor... I'll give Thor B, right? The first one, I like a lot about this film. I think it's a lot of funniness to it, despite the fact that he is the more serious version of Thor that would kind of stick around until Ragnarok. I think there was some quite funny moments to it. I liked a lot of the castings. I liked Jane Foster, and I liked Kat Dennings and Stellan Skarsgård. I thought all of them were really good. And I liked the whole sacrifice thing, and then get the powers back, and ba-doom, that whole scene. I think that's really good. I think that's a really good MCU scene, generally. So, I'll give it the B. I'll probably drop back to C for Thor 2. Yeah, it's definitely worse, I think. Maybe not by a huge amount, but probably by enough to slip to the same kind of level as Incredible Hulk. Yeah, it's got the worst villain pretty much in the MCU. Jane wasn't as fun this time. Thor was at his most serious pretty much in this one, right? Still had a couple of funny moments, but yeah. Yeah, it was a whole mess. Captain America the First Avenger. We're kind of vaguely going through this in order, so I guess let's just keep doing that. So yeah, First Avenger, clean A. I love Haley Atwell. I love Sebastian Stan's initial casting. I thought he did well here. I loved Tommy Lee Jones in this. Remember that. Chris Evans was obviously fantastic for the role, and it worked out really well. I thought it was really good. Obviously, the ending, we question in retrospect why he had to stay on the plane as it dove into the ice and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. Julian McMahon should be Two-Face / Harvey Dent. I like Julian McMahon. I always liked him from, like, Charmed. He was in that a lot. I thought he was always really good in that. Doctor Doom was obviously a little bit of a fucky role, but, yeah. Thor one, it's a little weird looking back. They wanted to make a very European film with Thor, which makes no sense. Seriously? It makes no sense? Where'd Thor come from? Is he a Canadian god? Is that it? I think that's it, right? He's a Canadian god. That's why it'd be weird, right? Just think about it for a moment, okay? Anyway, yeah. So no, I enjoyed the first Thor. I didn't enjoy the second Thor as much. I'm never going to turn off an MCU film. I don't think. Incredible Hulk and Thor: The Dark World are as bad as it gets, probably. Yeah. Avengers. Now, I'll be the first to admit that this looks dated today, okay? It already, 9 years later, it looks a little bit dated. And I think that's just part of it is because they have increased the spending from then on their films, on the budgets. They went bigger and they learned as they went along how to make things look neater and work better. But even if it's just for nostalgia terms, for the first time I saw this in the cinema and went, oh my god, this can happen. This can happen. This is a thing that can work. I think that I'm always going to have incredible nostalgia for the first Avengers film. And it did. They did so much that was so good, and it set up so many interactions between the characters and the style of these films that still carries on through to today and still works really well today, you know? Really, Tobey and Andrew on the same tier. I don't like Tobey Maguire. I don't like him as an actor, you know? I do like Andrew Garfield as an actor. It's only for the first one, though. I thought... Well, no, actually, I think, yeah, I did put those in the same tier as well. I just never connected, despite growing up with them. I never connected with the Tobey Maguire films in a way that a lot of people that were my age and grew up with them did. And then I was really into reading comic books for the first time from about 2010. And that's when I got into kind of Spider-Man comics, and then I saw that one. I thought Andrew Garfield just gave off more of this youthful Spider-Man comic book vibe in a lot of ways, you know? Tobey Maguire, oh... I don't know. There's still a lot to like about those films, but they are really dated now to watch back, and there's a lot of stuff. Spider-Verse really not an S? No. Iron Man 3 next. Again, Iron Man 3 disappointing in a way. It had its problems. I still like a lot about it. I remember how hyped I was for that when I saw the first trailer. Oh my gosh, it looked so good. Then they went and had to fuck away Mandarin like that. Yeah, had to do him like that. Hopefully Shang-Chi will try and fix it up, make some fun of this one. But it did a lot that was good again. That and Iron Man 2, you can't hate on them too much. People try, but I actually like the Raimi trilogy. The whole thing, including the third one. Oh, interesting. Okay. Didn't think there were many people out there that still really like Spider-Man 3. After that, we did Dark World, so then it's Captain America, Winter Soldier. I have always been, in comic book terms and film terms, a much bigger Captain America guy than Iron Man guy. And there's a reason for that. The Captain America trilogy is a better trilogy. I would be shocked to see anyone really arguing with that, and you would have to really have something against Winter Soldier or Civil War. I mean, Civil War has Iron Man, which helped. I still like how New York the Sam Raimi movies are. Oh. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people do that. They really focus on New York being New York and how great New York is in films. I don't give a shit about New York. I'm Irish. What the fuck do I care? So yeah, I feel like there's also like a level of like, when people are jacking off over New York all film, right? I feel like there's a bit of eye rolling that the rest of the world has got to do at America, and I think from what I've heard that the rest of America does at New York, you know, when that kind of thing happens. So that's not something that I really thought of as like a big positive for the Raimi films. Don't get me wrong, I like Sam Raimi as a director in general, but I mean, there was some fuckery. There's some fuckery in a lot of his films, you know, messy. Guardians, right? First Guardians, goddamn, 2014, man. 2014 didn't look like it was going to be like a super mega comic book film year, but it was. They did Days of Future Past. Oh, they did Amazing Spider-Man 2. That was 2014. Shit. I was on a roll there. And then they did these two in the MCU, which, you know, we should have been looking forward to Avengers 2. I mean, retrospectively, no, we shouldn't, but we should have been thinking about that already. And instead, they produced two of the very best MCU films in that year. And I mean, looking back on it, we see what James Gunn does. We see how good James Gunn is. Captain America 2. It was just the perfect... It was as much of a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie as you're going to get, ever. Because it doesn't exist after that. And it did so much with Black Widow that I liked, and Nick Fury was great in it, and it just took a lot of these characters that you thought, oh, they're not really going to get their own films. Took a while for her. But you want to see them, and you want to see that work. And it was one of the first times that they made a good villain in The Winter Soldier. That was he was a goddamn great villain. He's one of the very best they've ever done, still. And it just worked really well. Everything about it worked so goddamn well, and I still love watching that one back. After that, it is Age of Ultron. It's similar... It's a similar thought to, like, the Iron Man films. They're in B, even when you've got problems with them, because it's still an Iron Man film, and it's still Robert Downey Jr., and it still works that well, naturally. It's got all these other MCU characters. It's got the MCU style. It just works well. So even when it's got its issues, it still works. Similarly, an Avengers film can only be so bad. This is probably about as bad as they can get. You would struggle to make it one that's worse than this, I think. If you've got the MCU style, Loki? What about Loki? Loki is another one of the best villains for sure, generally. But in Thor, individually, he wasn't that good. He was fine. And then in Avengers, he was good. And then in Thor: The Dark World, he was kind of around, and so on and so forth. He was never, like, in one film really nailed as the perfect villain. I feel like Winter Soldier was in Winter Soldier. Guardians 1 is for people with fully functioning brain. Guardians 2 is the toy channel version of Guardians 1. The toy channel version. That's an interesting way to put it. So Age of Ultron, I'm probably still going to slip it into B, because you got to. You kind of got to. You can't forgive so much of that crap. But, I mean, it did a lot, you know, just the big, cool Avengers shots, it did well. Having a big, faceless army for them to fight, it did well. Introducing new characters who... Well, we didn't really like Scarlet Witch that much at the time. Wasn't that great. It made a big deal of Hawkeye, which was nice. They needed to do that after the first Avengers. Vision, you were introduced to and you liked well enough. And I didn't hate James Spader's Ultron. It wasn't what we hoped for from the trailer. You know, it made it look like he was going to be such a badass villain, no jokes here, and that he was just kind of Iron Man's personality. And that was kind of weird, and it didn't quite work like it could have. I'll go B. I'm close to an A, just because it's the fucking Avengers, you know, it's always the fucking Avengers. Ant-Man 1, I'm going to give that an A. Just about. I feel like Ant-Man is a lesser character. He's a lesser hero. It's pretty clear. It's surprising that he's getting a whole trilogy in one way, but it's always enjoyable. That one particularly, more so than the second one, it's always enjoyable. Paul Rudd is great casting. The character is really fun. Evangeline Lilly works really well. Michael Douglas works really well. Michael Pena is hilarious. It was a kind of shitty villain, really, in that first one, but there was so much that was so funny about it. It was one of the very funniest MCU films, and it just works well enough, I think, to get an A. And then Civil War, right? It's close, because I do think I pretty clearly prefer Winter Soldier, but I think I got to put Civil War there as well. It's what we wanted out of Avengers 2. It's Avengers 2.5, and it does a good job of being that. You know, it did everything you needed to. After the first Avengers, yeah, if Joss Whedon just left, let the Russos do Avengers Age of Ultron and Civil War, or just put them into one film or something, you know, then we wouldn't have had the weak entry, you know, in the Avengers franchise. But I do think it did everything it needed to be that good. And to follow up Winter Soldier as well as follow up the Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, there was so much going on in the MCU at that time, and they were building towards Infinity War. And it did everything it needed to in every way. And some people were, like, disappointed that it wasn't really a Civil War and stuff. What were you expecting? The Civil War in the comic books had, like, hundreds of heroes. This had like 12. You know, there's only so much they could possibly have done. But I thought it did well enough. It's so good to watch back as well. It's so incredible. Doctor Strange is a film that gets forgotten about in MCU terms. You know, and it doesn't deserve that. It's great. Benedict Cumberbatch is great. He's great casting in that role. I love Rachel McAdams with every fibre of my being. So I liked her, even if she was a total throwaway kind of female in love interest character, yeah. Mordo is an interesting character, and seeing him just kind of turning to the dark side is something we haven't seen much in the MCU so far, so that was nice. I love Wong and the Ancient One. They complained about Tilda Swinton. I liked her. I still enjoy her. I enjoyed her in Endgame as well. I thought she worked well. I don't have any problems with this film. Obviously, Caecilius is kind of weaker villain, but then you have Dormammu at the end, which I didn't expect. Didn't see that coming, really, before I went into the film. And the whole incredible Inception-like graphics and stuff, all of that. Sexiest superhero Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. They certainly made her act like the sexiest superhero woman out there. Yep. It's a pretty good shout. I'm fond of a lot of them. I don't know. That's not what we're ranking today. Suggested for a later one. Doctor Strange and then Guardians 2. Guardians 2, look, I mean, this is like talking about Age of Ultron, right? It's still the Guardians. It's still going to be enjoyable. It's still got a lot to it. That is great. I still love the characters. I love the soundtrack still. I really love the soundtrack in this one as well as the first one. I love Kurt Russell. Not in that role so much. Ego could have been done better. I love the meminess of James Gunn in wanting to make the planet. Taking that living planet from the comics, he's going to be the villain. Really? How does that work? How do you make a giant starfish work as the villain? He just makes it work. Not as well as a lot of these MCU ones. But I'm hopeful for Volume 3. I'm hopeful that he'll bring it back up to close to the level of the first one. I don't think he's ever going to be able to surprise us again. He did it again with Suicide Squad. He surprised everyone with quite how good that was. But is he going to get away with it a third time, trying to shock the world like that out of nowhere? I don't think so. After that is Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming, I actually, because I loved seeing Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He is my favourite Spider-Man, I think. I do feel sorry for Mark Webb as a director for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah. I feel like I was so excited for Homecoming that I was let down a bit, in some ways. I'd almost put it on B as well. Yeah. There was a lot about him and Iron Man kind of being his mentor that I liked about it. I thought Michael Keaton was a solid enough villain. I was irritated. I was like, Liz Toombs, who the fuck is this? Why she is love interest? Where's MJ? Until they did the reveal with Zendaya. But there was just something I felt here they could have been doing better. I felt like it was going for like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man feel with this first film, which is fair enough in one way, but it achieved that, and it felt like a small, unimportant MCU entry in a lot of ways. I still thought it was really good. I think he is the best Spider-Man. For me personally. And then it's Ragnarok, right? Oh, Ragnarok, it's hard to put anywhere but, right? Yeah. Like, I want to see them make like an incredible Ant-Man film, because they haven't quite got that to the level they could. I didn't feel like they'd gotten a Thor film right on the level that they should have until Taika Waititi arrived. And I mean, come on, it is one of the funniest MCU films. It's also got so many epic action scenes. It's got him proper team-up film with Hulk, but it's got like all these other characters it introduces. It's got a good enough villain. And it feels like it's got actual stakes, and, you know, he loses an eye. He loses his planet. He loses his father. All in this film. You know, it's got proper stakes to it. I liked a lot about this. I thought it's on that level. It's on that level, you know? Which is saying something still. Despite there being quite a few on it now. My issue with Doctor Strange is that it was promoted as a trippy film, but Ant-Man is so much trippier. The quantum realm, the bathtub. I get what you mean. I think when they do Doctor Strange 2, it's going to be trippier. I mean, Spider-Man 3 looks trippy. You know, just having Doctor Strange in it. If he really is Doctor Strange. What? But yeah, no, I do think... I still think Doctor Strange was a really good film. It's really enjoyable to watch back. But got some issues, got some problems with it. It is another origin film right after they said they didn't want to do any more, right? I think Sadie Sink would be a great Mary Jane Watson if being introduced to the MCU properly. Ooh. Not sure what you mean by that one. She's in the MCU, right? I believe if you mean if they cast someone who more traditionally represents the physical aspects of the character from the comics. Right? I'm sure you're not saying that just because it's Zendaya and she's black that she's not a real MJ. That would be insane, right? Dr. Mephisto, you devil. I don't really buy into the theory, but it is an interesting one that does make sense given that Mephisto did do that thing in the comics that Doctor Strange is doing in the film, you know? Still not sure if they want to outright introduce the devil in films that are watched by a lot of, I'm sure, conservative Christian families in America, you know? But we'll see. What's next? Black Panther, right? Again. You can't put it anywhere else. When they nail a villain to that degree, and I mean, Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger, they nailed it to that degree. And when they introduce a world that is so cool and so full and feels so great, and they've already introduced the heroes, so you don't really have to do proper origin stuff for the first film, that really helped. Black Panther came together to being something that was much more social, political, and all of that than almost any other, well, than any other MCU film, right? And it did everything so well. Chadwick Boseman was perfect in that role, as we'd already seen in Civil War, to a degree. And I loved Okoye, I loved Shuri, I loved all the other characters they introduced and things in this one. And, I mean, they are, you know, and other characters like M'Baku, they introduced enough cool characters and made us love enough characters in that film that they're going to be able to do a second film without introducing another Black Panther. Without having someone else come in to take over that role, you know? I do not like that Marvel made Spider-Man a high school again. I'm getting a little tired of it. Yeah, but I mean, let's be fair. They never actually cast a high schooler before. Tom Holland was actually a high school Spider-Man. They'd never, you know, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, you can say what you want about them or how good they were in the role. They didn't look anything like fucking teenagers, right? Tom Holland felt like a proper teenager, and they took that from the start. They took it from the start of the character. You might have been getting tired of it, but that was necessary to a degree because, well, if he was going to have the Spider-Man origin, where he was a teenager when he became Spider-Man, then why would we have not seen him before if he was an adult now, you know? So, no, I'm absolutely okay with the way they did it. Some people might be getting a little bit tired of it, but, I mean, we're going to see him grow out of that for the first time ever. Tobey Maguire got maybe to college stage. We're going to be able to... They could, if they wanted, if they keep signing them on, which they probably could do. They could get, like, 3 trilogies, a trilogy of trilogies. Have 3 in high school, 3 in college, 3 after college. They could do, like, 10 Spider-Man films with Tom Holland, and you could properly see the kind of progression of the character that we want to see. You know, we would have loved to see. They could have carried on if they hadn't fucked up Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3 so badly and done a 4th. They were planning it, you know? After Black Panther is Infinity War. Well, this one's easy. I remember a review at the time saying, I don't know if Infinity War is the best Marvel movie they've ever made, but it is the most Marvel movie they've ever made. And the fact that the Russo brothers came in, and I expected they would make it work, but they came in after doing Civil War, which had like 12 characters, and they had, in this film, like 80 big characters who all had to have their own moments and all had to have all of this working for them, and you had to tick all these boxes, and they just did that while also making it a Thanos film. Oh, no villain in the MCU is really that good? Okay, how about we give one his own fucking film, basically? And they did, and it worked so well, and Thanos in this was the best villain the MCU has ever had, maybe ever will have, honestly. Obviously, you take Loki overall throughout his time together, him and Tom Hiddleston, he's probably better, but he's not actually a villain for like his last 4 appearances, so there's that. After that is Ant-Man and the Wasp. This, And it's harsh to say, but there were 3 Marvel films coming out in 2018. Black Panther, which everyone had so much huge expectation for, Infinity War, which everyone had so much huge expectation for, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was always going to feel a bit like a nothing film after those. And it does, it feels like a nothing film. There's no real villain there. The ghost is kind of there, she is present, you know, you got Michelle Pfeiffer coming in, that's nice. It was all fine. It did what it needed to set up Endgame, which was very important. It was important that it was here. But it is massively forgettable. It is nice enough to watch, but it is massively forgettable. I think it is nicer to watch than either of those two, which is why it's still on B, but it is massively forgettable. That's true. Only in MCU terms, you know? If you just did Ant-Man films, they were nothing related to the MCU, I think you'd enjoy it a bit more, you'd think about it a bit more, but there were constrictions on what it could do. There were, you know, at that point in time, there's not that many great Ant-Man villains. There are problems with making a 3rd film, but, I mean, it looks like they're going to make it work. They're going to have his daughter take over a bit more, Catherine Newton, age her up again, or whatever. They're going to have Kang the Conqueror, which is going to help a lot. He's not an Ant-Man villain, but he should be a good one. And then they did Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel... As a kid, I watched Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man reruns. The final season begins with Peter marrying Mary Jane. Jade Jonah gifts Peter a burn van. A bum van, sorry. Peter was looking for a car. You pretend to not care, Jade Jonah. Yeah, no, I feel like that's the kind of thing that they could do in animated series and all of those old things that you want to see in film terms. And they can. Because they introduced Tom Holland as a teenager, they have the kind of time, and they can... I think he wouldn't mind probably it taking up that much of his career to do that many films. And they're pumping them out at some rate. The first one came out 4 years ago. They're getting all 3 of these first trilogy of films in 4 years. If they just keep going at that rate, he could be like 36 and have already done 9 Spider-Man films and all these other appearances. You know, it's crazy. I'm going to side with Hitop films, because I think the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is one of my favourite superhero trilogies. Really? Despite Spider-Man 3. Wow, okay. Interesting. Endgame is the same, right? Like, it's such a perfect story, right? And I think Endgame is pretty much my favourite MCU film, my favourite film on this list. Because they did what they needed to do. They did the giant film that spanned across the cosmos, included the Guardians, the Avengers, every other character but possible, basically, in Infinity War. And then because of the, you know, the circumstances, they were allowed to make a film that had the original Avengers team. A couple others in there, so it didn't feel quite so obvious. But it was the main Avengers team, the core Avengers, that this focused down on again. In a way that it hadn't since the first Avengers film. And it finally got to do, well, I suppose since Civil War, really, if you count that as an Avengers film. But it got to do that, and it worked so beautifully, and it did the send-off so incredibly well, and it rounded out the entire 23-film saga so incredibly well. And obviously now, God, it's just like... it's like, as soon as this ended, it was like the moment in Loki where they open up multiverse, and you go, oh shit, and now... everything's all over the place, and it's maybe never going to feel as beautifully cohesive as this again, because there's too many story fragments going on all over the place. I think they're for different large-scale stories, you know? A lot of people were really disappointed with the direction they took Thor in Endgame. I understand that, in a way, but... come on. You know, I think that was more about what they want him to do after that. I think what's going to happen in Love and Thunder, it's going to... Endgame stuff is going to lead into that. And I think it makes sense naturally, given how much he lost in Ragnarok and then in Infinity War, that he would be hella depressed, you know? Plus, like, he does get old and depressed and stuff like that in the comics after losing Mjolnir and all of that, so it kind of tracks. Far From Home, I thought was, I think it's the best Spider-Man film. I like Tom Holland the best out of the Spider-Man. I thought this, with Jake Gyllenhaal, I thought was a great villain. Worked so well again. again in the MCU. They have refused to use, well, until now. Until now, when all hell's about to break loose in the third one. They refused to use villains that have been used before on film. There are 7 or more, really, different villains across those 7 films. And Mysterio is such a good choice, and the way they used him, the way they MCU'd him, was great. Nick Fury and that whole thing was going on. And I really liked Tom Holland and Zendaya. I thought their relationship was an excellent version of Peter and MJ. I really liked it. I thought this did so much. It dealt with the fallout of Endgame to a degree, mostly Tony related again. It did it really well. I really liked that. Hello, and I already have to go, okay? And then finally, Black Widow. I didn't really talk about Captain Marvel there. And here's why I think Black Widow's better. Obviously, it's an established character already, so it doesn't have to do origin story stuff. I think Captain Marvel, set in the 90s, it overly 90s nostalgified things. The young Nick Fury was a really cool sidekick to have, but Captain Marvel as a character isn't that interesting. It's like trying to make an interesting Superman film. It is difficult. You know, Captain Marvel doesn't have that many unique, great villains to her. She has interesting stories in her past, but a lot of them are really sexist. They can make a good film, and this is why, really, they're introducing Miss Marvel, and they're doing The Marvels as the next film that features her, because it's hard for her, a pure solo film, to make it that interesting, because she's pretty much totally invincible. Almost to a Superman-esque kind of degree, it appears. The MCU version, at least. And that's not that interesting. It didn't have a good final battle, for example. It didn't have any proper final battle because she just beat the shit out of him. You know, she could literally do whatever she wanted to him. He was completely powerless against her. So it is I'm kind of worried that they're going to have to do like a traditional Superman style drain the power out of her in the second film or something. I don't know. But hopefully they will make do with it. Black Widow I thought was better because it just went balls to the wall, you know? The Red Room falling out of the sky. No. None of the Avengers will come to that. They just fell apart. It's fine. No. The Sokovia Accords people, they're not going to worry about it. It's fine. Obviously, there's all that. But I love Florence Pugh. I think she's a great successor. I think this film does good for the future of the MCU by setting her up as a successor, even if she's going to be a Dark Avenger instead. I thought David Harbour and Rachel Weisz were both great. The whole film had a lot more comedy to it than you might have feared a Black Widow specific film would. Obviously, she's done, like, comedic bits in the past, but there's also times where she's considered a lot more serious as a character than a lot of these other characters. It worked really well. I was glad that they finally did it. And I thought it was better than Captain Marvel, yeah. By a bit. So, but yeah, anyway. Horrible usage of Mysterio. They did him dirty? Really? Okay, we have differing opinions on that. I'm more disappointed in what they did with the Hulk in Avengers Endgame. I would agree with that. I think that was weird. After they really did a lot of great stuff with him in Ragnarok, that was... And then they kind of had him and Banner messing around in Infinity War. That didn't feel like a proper resolution to it in Endgame. That was a bit strange. But I mean, Hulk's character's never been an important one, let's be honest. You know? No, I liked Mysterio. I thought it was one of the better villains in the MCU. It's a low bar, generally. There's some like really good ones, but generally it's not a high quality caliber level, is it? But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. It really turned there. It was really down here at the beginning, but MCU, Marvel films came good, you know? And there's a couple out with Days of Future Past, Logan, I think are great films. Deadpool, Into the Spider-Verse. Classic, great films, really. But, I mean, the MCU is Marvel. And now it literally is. Yeah. I mean, Venom 2, that's coming out. That's not a MCU film. Spider-Verse 2. But you do wonder if they're going to just incorporate that through multiverse stuff. If they're just going to make a further deal with Sony or something. And soon Marvel will have the kind of universe that DC can only dream of, right? Well, they already do, yeah. I'm not enjoying Spider-Man in the MCU. Oh dear. Well, okay. Right, you seem to be a real Tobey Maguire traditionalist. But that's okay. Everyone's got their opinion, and they're all... Well, they're not all fine, but that's fine. But thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Leave down in chat or in comments other tier lists rankings that you'd like to see, because there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them out there that you could do. And you guys have suggested some interesting ones already that I have for next week that I might check out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I think that's a pretty reasonable, generally, look at things. People always argue about things. You're never going to have the same opinion twice. But yeah, pretty much there. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back on tomorrow evening, hopefully, for some sort of multiplayer gaming with friends. Don't know what yet. Maybe Phasmo. Maybe Tricky Towers. Maybe Sea of Thieves. But thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you later.